Hey, everybody. Welcome to Making Connections with Aly. It's your girl, Aly. I hope everybody is having an amazing day. You always see all the flyers that go forth, when we begin in the show. And, October is typically Breast Cancer and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So there are plenty of events going on throughout that month. We want, seems like October 15th is a good day. But we got the Purple and Pearls event going on October 15th. We have one of our sisters, a brilliant lady, Lady Melinda Sue, is having her event in South Carolina. It's a domestic violence gala. And so all these flyers will be in the Facebook group. Save the date. They're having Black Together again. They're a movement to save the Black families. Also October 15th. So it's a lot going on. But September is also National Life Insurance Awareness Month. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit towards the end. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's Life Insurance Awareness Month. We want to make sure we're taking care of our families. We want to make sure because the life insurance is not just for the one who dies, it's not just for burial, but it's the ones who remain living, the ones who are left behind. We're leaving a legacy. We're helping them along the way. We're tired of seeing GoFundMe's, to help you bury your family. And we know if you're doing a GoFundMe to help for the burial, how does the household stay intact? So, all those things are things to think about. But right now, we're going to jump into this interview with my brilliant friend, Tanya Brewington. How are you today?
Hey, Allie, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for being with us on the Making Connections family show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and so since this is your first time being on the show, I definitely want to give you an opportunity just to greet the family, say hello, tell a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump into all the amazing things you have going on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Brewington. I'm the CEO and founder of Courageously Alive. Most people have had some experience of trauma, drama, or tragedy in their lives that has caused them to shrink and get stuck. And with Courageously Alive, we offer tools, we offer workshops, retreats, and group coaching to help you get to the heart of the matter so that you can heal. And as you heal, you can thrive and you can also prosper. And we work with women and men who are entrepreneurs and high achievers because we know that in order for you to really move forward in what you're doing, it becomes important for you to heal so that you can actually experience the life that you're working towards.
Hmm. And it is so important because I think, and I just talk about myself on the show,
Hmm.
but you think you've healed, you think you've let things go, but then you find yourself year to year saying, I haven't really made any progress. I haven't really done all the things that are on the inside or the dreams that I have. So is that part of the reason because we haven't healed truly or dealt with it?
Sometimes it is part of the reason you haven't elevated because you hit what I call a glass ceiling. And the glass ceiling really has to do with the parameters or the paradigm that you're living according to. And so if you have beliefs that you've adopted because of any trauma that you've had in your life, and you're really living according to what you believe as opposed to what really may be true. And so, with that being the case, you will hit a glass ceiling because you don't think that you can actually go beyond where you might find yourself. So year to year, you have the same kinds of experiences or the same results. And with some people, they find that they're involved with the same kinds of in the same types of relationships over and over and over again. Different names, different people, but the
Right.
same experience. And that is a sign that you might have something that needs to be healed.
And that's a good thing because I like the way that you said different people because it could be the same interactions at work, in your family, in the church, but it all ends in the same. You're frustrated, you feel like nobody loves you, nobody, understands you and things like that. So, but what I had to find out was that I really didn't understand myself.
Right, right.
I was expecting other people to understand Allie, and she was like, "Well, let me think about it. I don't really know what I like. I don't really know what my favorite color is anymore. I don't know what I like to do with my downtime. Do I have downtime?"
Right, right.
So,
Well, one thing that I find is that, when people have unhealed spaces in their lives, the way that they show up really is impacted. And the way you show up really is based on, again, what you think about yourself and how you believe other people are perceiving you. And once you're able to get to a place where you can actually heal, and I mean get to the heart of it, root it all out, because what winds up happening as it with an experience of trauma is you adopt and you take on the beliefs and the thoughts and whatever opinions people have kind of placed on you. This is what I think about you, or because I did this, you assume that this is what they feel about you.
Hmm.
And you live up to or down to, in some cases, those expectations. And they just become how you show up until you really examine them through a process of healing. And once you're able to examine them, you get to make a decision. Is this really who I am? Does this really reflect me? Or was this someone else's opinion and I can let it go?
Right, right. And that's so true because, like you were saying, even with you always think that you're thinking what somebody else thinks about you, and you're like, and we play that over in our minds, when we're at the kitchen table, when we're at home, and it'll come back to you like, this happened at church. I wonder if they thought da 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 da. And sometimes it could just be, independent on the situation,
Hmm.
just as simple as a conversation. You
Right.
know, this committee, we were planning something, got a little heated. Maybe you misunderstood what I said. Maybe I misunderstood. It could just be a conversation. But again, you have to really evaluate, what happened, who it was with. Sometimes there, and somebody came through the job the other day and they were like, it's the blind leading the blind around here. And a lot of times that's what it's, the hurt leading the hurt.
Right.
So,
Right.
and so you really have to stop. And one thing I had to learn was grace for other people.
Mm. It makes a big difference. And you're talking about the hurt leading the hurt. And, there's a saying out here, you've probably heard it, that hurt people hurt people. And that's because people are just acting, they're living in a space of reactionary mode. And so let's imagine you do have a hurt or a wound or something that's unhealed. If you see anyone or you're in a situation that reminds you in any way of whatever the experience was, it becomes a trigger. And
Hmm.
you may react to that person as if that person was the one who hurt you. They have no idea what's going on with you. They had nothing to do with the situation or circumstance. It's just a reminder to you, and you're still living in reactionary mode instead of just being just who you are in that whole situation. Once it's healed, this is the truth of the matter. Once you've healed whatever it is that's going on with you, you'll find that you don't react to as many things anymore because you don't have the triggers. The triggers are gone.
Right.
And that's truly the benefit of healing, because once you clear the triggers, you can actually start doing some other things that really reflect who you are instead of just, reacting to outside circumstances.
Right. And you're exactly right. Sometimes it might be the same wording that somebody who hurt you used.
Hmm.
This new friend, who was not involved, didn't mean it in that way at all.
Hmm.
And it just takes you to another level, but they didn't even mean it that way. And now you're putting them in that same category. You're coming back real brash, and they're just like, oh my gosh, what happened?
What happened?
What did I just do?
Right, right. And so, and you're saying based on what they do or they say, the trigger can even be as minor as they wear a color that someone wears or
Mhm.
someone wore. They
Mhm.
may wear a cologne or perfume that person had
Yeah.
on. They cause the harm. There's so many things that may actually cause you a trigger, and we're so unaware of what's going on that we're just reacting because it's an outside stimulus that is impacting us. But once you're able to heal, your body doesn't react, and your body is reacting as if it's, you're being confronted with this person. Um, and so you're not always aware of what's happening.
Mhm.
And because you aren't aware, you can't control it.
Right.
I talk often about the slap that was heard around the world That's when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. It was a trigger. He was triggered by something, and in this very public environment, he had a reaction. He reacted to something that really just changed a lot of people's perception of him. There were lots of there are repercussions and consequences
Right,
because
right.
of it.
Yes, and I still love Will Smith. You
Yes.
we understand. Okay, it was something deeper. It wasn't
Mhm.
just in that moment,
Right.
but in that moment, and like you said, he was triggered. And then sometimes, and just like Will Smith probably did, he thought, why did I do that? And
Hmm.
sometimes I would find myself sitting at home being like, why did I even react that way? Or why did I not answer the call anymore? Why am I, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be like this, but here we are, we find ourselves here.
Right. Right. And so it when you are aware, and you're saying you are aware of this is where you might decide to look for um, a solution or assistance, or the help of someone. The help can be a therapist, it could be a coach. I actually work with people around a process of forgiveness, because I understand that forgiveness is one thing. It's one of the ways to truly get to the heart of what's going on, so you can root it out. It's like pulling up weeds if you're working with a lawn. But it's you have to root those things out so they don't grow back. And that is the major process that I go through. I take people through so that they can get to the heart of all of these things. Because once it's gone, it's gone. It
Mhm.
that no longer becomes a trigger, and then you can focus in on other things that will actually benefit your life.
So true, so true. We have, and let's face it too, a lot of times, we're trying to change people's belief of years and decades,
Mhm.
generations, because there was a generation where we said anything happened in the house stays in the house.
Ooh,
We don't go around, we don't tell our business. I don't care what it is. If I hear it in the streets, I know it had to come. And there's only so many people in the house, so if I hear it in the street, it had to come from somebody, and somebody's going to get punished for that. And
right.
so we're dealing with still trying to get that root up of, oh my gosh, if I tell, I'm betraying somebody. You know, it goes deep.
It's very deep, because the truth of the matter is, someone in your family line has to be the courageous person that says it
Mm,
stops here. It might be you who's that person that says it stops here. Because what winds up happening is, when you have experiences that are traumatic, usually you're not the first person in the family who's had that particular experience.
right.
It's something that may happen generation after generation after generation after generation. And if you are that person who makes the decision to stop it, whatever it is, then you have the impact of benefiting future generations. They
Mhm.
don't have to go through that again. In your case, you talk about money. Money is one of those other areas that, if you're dealing with trauma and drama, your money is also impacted. There are like four areas. It's your health that's impacted, it's your money, it's your relationship with other people, and it's even how you show up in the world. And so those are the things that we get to when we're talking about, when I take people through the whole forgiveness process, because I tell you, it has such a major impact on every area of your life.
It does. It really does. And even then when you're talking about, because we've had therapists on before, and they would talk about like sexual traumas and things like that, it really changes your dynamics, your genetics. I mean, and people don't think that's so. They're like, this happened years ago. Why don't they just get over it?
And the thing is, they can't. They really can't, because it's like having a festering wound that all you're doing is you're just covering up, but you're not rooting out the infection. It's an infection. You have to think of it like an infection. And until you clear the infection, it impacts everything that's going on in your body.
Hmm.
When someone experiences, in particular, a sexual trauma, because one of the places that I started with was facilitating workshops for women who had experienced sexual abuse. Sexual trauma is a particularly devastating kind of trauma, because it's a violation against your body.
Hmm.
And you're in a space where you can't stop it. You can't protect yourself for whatever reason. It could be that it happened when you were so young. You really had you couldn't do anything. You can't protect yourself against an adult or someone who's older
Right.
and has decided that they want to abuse you. The trauma, that's the traumatic experience. For other people, it's different things. It's divorce, it's domestic violence, it's you were bullied, it is, whatever the case may be. In some cases, you're dealing with tragedies, like you have an unexpected loss. Your house has been
Yeah.
foreclosed on, your car has been repossessed, you lost a job and everything around you kind of fell apart. Those things, you still have to deal with the impact of those things. And what winds up happening, particularly with sexual abuse victims or people who've experienced it, I don't want to call them victims,
Right.
um, is you're walking around holding on to this thing. And the thing that's really traumatic about that is you're told not to tell anybody.
Hmm.
So it's like you can't even get it out of you. And you're expected to hold on to this thing, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't tell anybody. So it's just sitting there festering and rooting and festering and festering. It has no, there's no other way that it can do anything but impact how you show up in the world. And women in particular who deal with sexual abuse, there's some things that we know, well, research has shown that women are either promiscuous because they don't feel like their bodies have any value, or
Right.
that their bodies are only valuable for sex. um,
Right.
they become extremely, I'm going to say, I don't want to say devout, because that they become the women who are totally repressed in a lot of areas of their lives.
Hmm.
They can become the women who are like the party girls. Everyone, we just got to go get it. They're this kind of people. They're
Right.
agitated all the time. And what's happening in this situation is this thing is driving their lives and they have no idea what it is. But because you haven't stopped long enough to look at it, to figure out what it is, then you continue to find yourself in that repetitive, recurring cycle.
Mhm. Wow. And when you've seen this before and you see it in people's lives and you can recognize it and you're just like, oh man. So, we definitely start praying for them. Don't start talking about them. That's not helping the situation.
Not helping.
Well, I was just telling them so they can pray. I mean, now, is this really somebody who keeps secrets? Or
Right, right.
you know what I'm saying? So we have to be so careful because maybe they have told somebody thinking, okay, I'm going to try this breakthrough. But then again, what they thought was going to happen, it got shared with other people. So, even those of us who are called to help and to lead, we have to be careful with people. Because you've not been there before, you don't really know how it truly affects them.
Hmm,
So you
hmm.
have to take it seriously because it's a person's life, it's a person's, could be their future, like you're saying, because it could be the thing that puts them back behind the wall and they just
Right.
decide to stay and not try again.
Right. And they shut down, and it really impacts lives for I want to say forever. And when I say forever, I mean until they make a decision to go
Right.
and get some help, really get some help that can actually help them. Let me share with you one of the other things that really is traumatic for people is having fractured or dysfunctional relationships with their parents. And people don't often think about it, but that's also an area. I've worked with women who had dysfunctional, just traumatic experiences with their moms, and it just shakes everything in them, because it's like, how can my mother, the person who I'm trying to pattern my life after, doesn't love me, or is always jealous, or is always competitive, or
Right.
always says negative things. It shapes how you grow up. It shapes how you show up in the world. And these are some of the there's a term that psychologists or psychiatrists use, and it's called ACE. It's adverse childhood experiences. And these adverse childhood experiences, until they are resolved in some ways, until they're acknowledged and dealt with, you have young people who deal with them. They take them into adulthood, and that becomes what shapes their lives from that point on.
And it's true. I mean, I can't. I just keep saying it's true because I've seen it. I've experienced some of it, and you really have to start finding the value in yourself. You have to start saying to yourself, "Okay, I'm worthy to be healed. I'm worthy, like the word you used, to thrive. I'm worthy to prosper." And it takes some effort, but you
Hmm.
get there. And another thing, one of the ladies, I think it might have been Barbara, we were talking. Sometimes too, you stay in that secluded place because you don't want your story to come out. Like the retreat we went to, I was like, oh, now this story, what is? And then when I told my story, I was like, why did I get up there and say that? But I have found that if I can tell my story first, if I can get my story out there, then when it comes back to me, I'm like, oh, they didn't tell the story right. This is what really happened. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right, right.
So you have to be courageous enough to be able to tell your own story.
Yeah. And part of that is we're concerned about how we appear to other people. I think that's natural. The other thing is we're dealing with emotions like shame. Some of the experiences we've had have caused us to feel ashamed about what it was that actually happened to our lives. But we have to remember that there are times when what we experience is not our doing. It's someone doing something to us.
Hmm.
The result is, as a result of some of these feelings, we actually feel shamed about what's going on, but we didn't cause the trauma. It wasn't like the sexual abuse. You didn't abuse yourself. Someone did that. That's the person who really should feel the shame or the backlash for what happened. And what we know in society is typically the person who causes the trauma isn't the person who feels the backlash. It's the person who was on the receiving end.
Yeah,
You know, and people tend to blame the person on the receiving end, but you have to know at the end of it that you didn't cause this situation to happen.
exactly. And it takes some time though, because even with marriages and things like that, kids tend to blame themselves. What I'll be better. I'll clean up my room. It could be something as simple as like because your parent had to tell you to clean up your room 3 times, you think that that was the cause. And
Right.
so, let me tell you, life is truly a journey.
Is Yes, we're lifing here. We're going through it.
I, I know you've seen those memes and stuff. I don't feel like adulting today.
Right. And you understand it. You understand, it just feels like it's a lot. It feels like a lot.
Yeah, but I do know wherever you start, it's up to you where you can finish because you can. I'm going to keep using your words. You can heal, you can thrive, and you can
Yeah,
prosper
it's true. It's true.
because God has no respecter of person.
Right. Right.
And abundance is your portion if that's what you want, if healing is what you desire. You know what I mean?
Right. And you have to make the decision. But it's also cyclical. You start healing, you'll find that you are allowing yourself to thrive in some areas, but you may hit a wall and you have to go back through this whole process again, or something else may come up in your life. So I think we have to also recognize that healing is an ongoing journey. But
Um,
with the programs that we do, we teach you the tools, because once you get the tools, you can apply them at any point in time in your life. When you find that you've hit another wall, or you're having an experience that you don't understand how to get out of it, you can go back to what you've learned, and you can begin to reapply those tools, and you'll find that you have some transformation in your life, and it gives you the ability to get through that particular experience, so you can it doesn't impact every area of your life at that point.
right. So,
And the truth is, as you go, you as we elevate, we change our positions in life, we're doing something else, we are confronted with a whole new set of things that we have to look at.
mhm,
Because when you start off, this is a position that you're used to. Let's say we're here. This is a position that you're used to. You know how to do, how to navigate this. But then you go up here, right? And there's some other things that are coming up, and you're like, oh gosh, what do I do with that? You have to figure out how to navigate that. But then you elevate a little bit further. And
mhm,
then there are new things. The more you release in life, the higher you can go. You can go faster, you can go further. But as you go, as you move your way up, you're going to find that there are different sets of issues, concerns, challenges. There's a different way of being in order for you to thrive in that space. And you just have to know how to navigate your way through that. And that's really where coaching really helps you, because it helps you to understand how to change your mindset, or adopt a new mindset at each level that you go to in your life.
And I like the fact that you're saying you have the tools, and so the tools are not just for this situation, but you can apply them to whatever situation where you find yourself in that block.
Mm-hmm.
Help you, escape, get to the next level. But you're right, you can continue to go higher and higher. And like you said, I mean, for me, like now, I can navigate Making Connections TV show.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
I first started, I was like, what in the heck did I do? I'm like, how am I gonna continue to get guests? I don't talk to people. People don't talk to me. It was this whole thing. I was like, I had a meltdown. But here we are 4 years later.
4 years later.
And the conversations are so different, the flow is so different because I navigated that. But as you know, now we're in this entrepreneur world, and you're like, well, that was gonna flow like Making Connections, but it's a little bit different. And so, but at the same time, if I really tell the truth, some things are the same. I just
Mhm.
have to use the same concepts to get
Right.
to that next level.
Right. Right. Because
So
you know what to do. You know what to do. It's just a matter of applying it, applying it to everything that you're getting to, whatever you know, and then the things that you don't know. That's when you can get help to help you
exactly.
elevate a little higher and faster.
Yeah, and even with the help, like I had told Angela when I started working with her, I was like, and I've worked with coaches before, and da 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 da, and here we are. I still need a coach, right? But I knew there was a level I needed to get to. I knew I didn't know all the answers, and so even though it didn't work before, hey, I'm invested because I've got to get to this place. I've got to get to a place where I can help my family. I've got to get to a place where I can help my friends and teach other people. And it's not just about helping them, because what's the concept? If you teach a man
To
to
fish.
fish, if you give them a fish, you always have to feed them. But if you teach
Hmm.
them to fish, they can always find food to feed their own families and to feed themselves and to strengthen themselves.
Hmm.
So it's not about just having money or resources just to be able to give, but no, I need to be able to teach somebody else how to overcome the things I've overcome.
Things that they've got. Right. And this is where legacy building takes place. Because what you're talking about is not just about you, but it's also about leaving a lasting legacy. And that's what legacy is all about. It's when you go beyond yourself, and the impact, there's a ripple impact, it goes out into the world. Whatever, when you're giving your gift, you're sharing your gift, you share what you know and how you can navigate that space, and other people learn, then they're like, oh, I can do this here. They begin to elevate because they begin to share their gifts. They know that it's safe to do. They can share their gifts wherever they are, and they can go out in the world. They impact their families, in the community, and the world that they live in. So it's a ripple effect, but this is how you leave a lasting legacy.
And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times, when people hear that word legacy, they're just like, okay, I mean, I know what it means intellectually, but what does
Very.
it mean? How do you do that? I mean, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. How am I going to leave a legacy? What kind of legacy? But legacies encompass all different types of things. It could be that legacy of peace. I know my grandmother went through this, but she came to a place of peace. It didn't matter what happened. She was at peace. She could still love people and, just continue on living her life. It could be of, being an entrepreneur, leaving that legacy of the steps and knowing how to overcome, you know, that next level. So
Right.
it's all kinds of things, but like you said, it's always about building, hopefully out and up.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so the other thing about legacy, as you're talking about, money is one of those areas. It really becomes something that you can leave. Most people think of that when it comes to legacy.
Right.
But like you're saying about your grandmother, what you begin to do is find out, what did she have, or how was she able to do this? Because I want to do that same thing.
Right.
When I talk about forgiveness and I talk about the fact that when you are able to release whatever has been going through your family line, you're leaving the legacy of healing in that space. Now, there may be other things that are going on in your family. Someone else might take that mantle on, but you might find that as you're learning to heal, other people begin to see the benefit of it as well.
Mm.
I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in business now for 20 years as of the 20th of September. And what I find, thank you, what I find is that I have family members, younger people who are like, what do I need to do to start a business? Because they know that I've done it. They know that I've been in this space for a long time. And
Mm.
I'm glad to share with them, this is what it looks like. These are the things that you have to start thinking about. This is what you're going to wind up finding yourself dealing with. And so when they have questions, guess what? They have a resource that they can go to. So that's part of the legacy. But when I talk about there's a one of the things that I have learned is that when you decide to heal in a particular area in your life, it impacts 7 generations in your family line.
Mm.
So for the next 7 generations, however long that may be, and let's just say that a generation is 30 years, that's the next 210 years
Wow.
that you have created this space for your family line to experience peace or to experience healing for that amount of time.
Wow.
It's just a significant thing. It's a significant transformation in your family. It
Yeah. It just sent something through my body. I was like, ooh, generations.
yes.
That's amazing. And see, that's what we talk about, like even in the financial world. Think about, if your grandmother had started that process, and then here you come and you add on to that. I mean, the more we add on, the more things we heal from, the longer these generations get to enjoy that. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
you're stacking on everything that has gone before you.
Right.
Like the
Exactly.
finances. If your grandmother, when she passed away, if she had left a legacy to pay the house off, to establish a college fund, then your parents would have been able to go to college if that would have been their choice. But they would have had money to be able to navigate life and find out what they want to do, opposed to being in a system, not knowing which household they're going to live at from year to year, how
Hmm.
those people are going to treat them. See, you're leaving that legacy because if I don't personally have children, but have godchildren that I'm still, trying
Hmm.
to take
Hmm.
care of,
Hmm.
because I want them to be able to have options. I
Right.
want them to have to deal with what society is going to throw their way. No, they can stand up flat footed and say, no, I don't have to be treated this way. I have options. There are things I can do. And
It's
until I decide what's next, hey, I know there's this fund here. I can live off the interest. I can still not touch the principal, but live off the interest until I decide what's next for me and my family
mhm.
without worrying about the house being taken away, the lights being cut off. It's so much.
It's so much.
But it just takes one decision to get that started.
Right. And one decision, one person can start a ripple effect in your family, can actually make such a change in the dynamic, in the direction that the family goes in. And it's a very courageous decision. And often you find that you are kind of butting up against the I call them the naysayers in the family, the people who really don't understand why do you always have to do it this way, why is it always this with you, why can't you just do this? And
Right.
when you run into that, the thing that you have to also think about is you are, if you are that person who feels that this is your purpose to actually lead in this particular space, you are butting up against layers and years and generations of people who've decided we don't need to do that, or it doesn't take all that. But you have to know and feel convicted within yourself that if this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what you do, regardless. And then you surround yourself with people who are supportive in what you're doing, because that becomes something that we do. Sometimes we think that we can be the outlier and still remain with all of the people that we've grown up with all of the people who have a certain way of thinking. If you're the only one thinking that way, you probably aren't going to hang out with them for very long, because Either
Right.
they're going to pull you into their way of thinking, or they're going to ostracize you, one or the other, one of the other. So it becomes beneficial when you start surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And as you do, you begin to see that things open up, because then you have people around you who think the same way or think similarly. It doesn't mean you all have to think exactly the same way,
Right.
but they help you grow, you help them grow. There's a synergy that goes on. And then as you're growing and you're elevating, the people who chose not to go with you, they may turn around and say, wait a minute, what are you doing now? And you might be able to influence them in order to help them elevate in their lives as well.
Right. And too, with that, what I've seen in one situation in particular was, as I surrounded myself with different people, I may not have been the one who they didn't hear my voice when I was saying, you need to be an entrepreneur, you need to get, but like one of my friends was there and they were like, look at this gift you have. Why are you not monetizing this gift? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, because of being in the atmosphere, they heard it from somebody else. But if I hadn't have made friends with this person, you know what I'm saying? So it's really about, and I didn't get mad. I was like, I'm just glad you heard. I'm glad you got a revelation
You got it. You
what
finally
it could
got
be
it.
for you. Yeah,
Mhm.
man, this is good, and that's why I have been so grateful that I went to the Be Brilliant retreat, because that very week I was like, I'm always doing something crazy. I'm not going up there. I don't know any of these people. These people are business owners already, entrepreneurs that have been doing it for a while. What am I gonna have to share? But I'm so glad I went, because I still learn, and I even learned that people who have been successful in life still find that there's a true purpose for their life. Like they had jobs or they won things and it was good. They learned from that, but they learned it to take it to, maybe you can help me explain this. I know you know what I'm talking about, but they used it to really um, push their purpose. Like Angela was talking about one of the people, she was very good in the hospitality industry. She was good, whatever I can't remember what her status was. She was good. She made it happen. But her life goal was she loved to write children's books. And so she was still in the hospitality, but she still wrote those books. And that's what really gave her life.
Right. And so, this is also about someone living out their purpose, whatever their purpose is. One thing, and what I do also is I work with people around helping them honor the dreams that they have. And
Mhm.
so there are things that we already know. Um, we feel that we were told, or we felt like God told us to do this, but we aren't doing it for whatever reason. And so, what I talk to people about often is honoring those dreams that they have, because it's so important that you live out the purpose that you've come here to live out for. And when you don't, what you notice is that you're existing. You may not, you may feel like, oh yeah, well, I've got to do this, I've got to set this up, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But until you're actually doing the things that really bring your heart joy, you're kind of sort of existing.
Right.
And it becomes, when you start to honor what you feel led to do, or whatever is inside of you to do, you will be amazed at how your life begins to transform, because you live from a different space. It's not just about scrimping and scraping and trying to force something to happen. When you make a step in the direction of the dream, you'll be amazed at how things open up to kind of support you. Whatever it is, there are things that open up to support you, but you have to actually make a decision that you will actually take those steps. And that's not always easy, because again, when you're talking about working or being around people who don't understand that, they're like, well, why are you doing that? Oh, you have a good job, you're making this kind of money, you don't have to do all that. You have, your kids are in school, you have this, you have that, you're too old. I mean, all these reasons. You're
Hmm.
too something.
Hmm.
That's how people try to keep you settled, because if you were to live out your dream and you were to do well doing the thing that you want to do, they have to look at themselves in their lives and say,
Hmm.
what? Well, I could have done that too. And that is something that you tend to hear. Now, I'll tell you something. Let me tell you a little story. There have been times when like earlier on in my life when I would have this idea, oh, I really want to do this, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't think, I would talk myself out of it.
Right.
And then I would hear about someone else doing the very same thing that I talked about doing. And I'm like, well, Tanya, why didn't you do it? I mean, you could have done this.
Right.
This is where you would be. And so I have had to learn that when I have these ideas, these thoughts, this urge, it's an inner urge, and when you're feeling that, this inner urge to do this thing. For me, it's like I have to actually act on it, whatever it is. And it does. So when I hear people who are saying, well, why? You don't need to do it that way. If they haven't done anything, I'm like, you can't tell me. You can't tell me to or not to do this, because you
Right.
have to live out your own vision for your life. And so I'm very committed to have helping people. This is, I talk about healing and I talk about forgiveness as a space of healing. But when I'm talking about living and honoring your dreams, I'm talking about you being in a space of really thriving. That's when you really find that you begin to trust yourself, you begin to trust what you've been given, and you begin to operate in that space, because you're not listening to all the voices, you're not listening to all the beliefs that don't really benefit you any longer. You've decided to put those things to rest, and now you can focus in on this stuff, these dreams that you've had. And those are the things that I do when I'm working with people and I'm coaching with them.
Yes. Man, I'm loving it. So let me ask you, when you saw that somebody else did the vision that, you're like, oh man, why didn't I just go ahead and do? What made you be like, okay, because, sometimes we say that and then we're like, oh, it wasn't meant for me. What made you get or caused you to get out of that thought process now when you think of something, you're like, oh no, I need to work on it? What if have they already done it? And, what if we just talk about make it simple, writing a book?
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a moment. When you go into Walmart and you want to go buy, let me say, ketchup, how many different brands of ketchup are there?
A
Let
lot.
no no let, let's stop with ketchup. I don't want to do ketchup. Hot sauce. You have, and I'm just going to tell, I'm from North Carolina. You have Texas Pete, you have Tabasco. Depending on where you are, there's a Louisiana hot
Mhm.
sauce, there's Thai chili hot sauce, there's this. They're like probably 20 different kinds of hot sauces out there, right?
Right.
And you, as a consumer, get to choose whatever suits you, whatever you like best, however you like it, whether it's vinegary, whether it's super duper hot, whether it's cayenne hot, whether it's hot, 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 whether it's level 5, whether it's level 2, whatever, all these different options.
Right.
And so what I've had to learn as I've kept going is, just because someone else does it doesn't mean that I can't do it, because they're going to do it their way. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to attract the people who respond to me. They're going to attract the people who respond to them. There may be some overlaps, but there may not be. There may be people who say, "Oh, I love the way that person does this," and they look at me. They're like, "Oh my God!" But I love how she's speaking my language. And there
Right.
are people who are drawn to you for that reason. So even though there are other brands out there are other people who might be doing what you're doing to some degree. The
Right.
consumer has the option, and the people who really are drawn to you, if you're clear about your messaging, they're going to come to you. The people who are drawn to them are going to go to them, and that's okay. Because the other thing you have to think about is this: there are billions of people in this world,
Right.
right? One person is not going to attract all the billions of people who need this one particular service
Exactly.
or product or service. And so that's the benefit of having the options. But you have to be out there. They have to know you exist. You have to continue to do what you said you wanted to do, because that's how you actually get your message out. And they know you're there. They actually can choose you if they're actually drawn to you and your message.
Man, this is so good. I love this conversation. Whew. Look, as soon as we get off, I'm be like, replay. Because and I think that's another reason I love doing the shows, because I learn as well, or I'm reinforced things that I know on the inside, but then somebody like a Tanya Brewington comes along and just reminds me
Hmm.
that I can have a courageous life as well.
Exactly.
And so I'm excited. I think this is awesome. So why the title Courageously Alive? I always like to know.
I actually started Courageously Alive after I lost my daughter in 2013. She was a newborn, so for me, it was like trying to deal with the impact of the loss. It was about grieving. I was grieving, but I was also trying to figure out what comes next for me because I
Mhm.
really just felt like, if I live, yeah, I didn't really have an attachment to what was going on at that point.
Right.
And what I realized is, in order for me to come back and make a decision to live the way that I felt that I had to live, it was a courageous decision
Mhm.
because I could, at that point, I could have just said, you know what, this was what I really wanted. This was, and I did feel that way. This is what I really wanted. God didn't let it happen, so I'm done with it. But there was something that was pushing me forward. And what I call tragedy, because I talk about trauma, drama, and tragedy, this was the tragedy, but it was the catalyst for me to actually step
Mhm.
into everything else I wanted to do. Because what I also had a realization is that we don't all have a lot of time. I mean, and I don't want to say you're going to pass away tomorrow, you're going to transition and pass away tomorrow. But what the loss of my daughter made stood out for me is because it made me realize you can't control how much time none of us knows how much time we have to live. But what
Mhm.
you can do is maximize your time on earth. And that takes courage to do because, in spite of everything else you're hearing around you, in spite of what other people are doing, in spite of anything that you've ever done before, to decide to really live and live, as I call it, living out loud, living your life, however you choose to live it, it takes courage because it's far easier just to sit with status quo and go along with the flow. It's just
Yeah.
easier to do. It takes courage to step out of the pack and say, you know what, I'm going to do my thing. No matter what, come what may, I'm going to do my thing the way that I feel that I was led to do it. That takes a lot of courage. In this environment, it takes a lot of courage.
Right. And even in doing that, like I always say, even if you step out and, the first time it didn't, launch well, or if it didn't, soar, continue going, continue to tweak, that gift, that talent. Sometimes I think if it's not going well, do we just try to reinvent something completely different? No, you don't have to do that. Just tweak and get the help you need
Get
there.
the help you need.
Like Tanya, you can reach out to her and be like, "This is just where I am." And I always say, when you're going to get help, whether it's a therapy, whether it's coach, whatever it is, a doctor, tell the truth when you're there.
Right.
Tell the
Or
truth about where you are and then where you want to be, even if you're not even sure how far you want to go.
where you want to go. Right. Right.
Just tell the truth of what you know at that point, because they have been trained and they have worked with so many people that they know the questions to ask to kind of, help you figure out that journey, right?
Right. They help you get to the heart of the matter. A good coach, in particular, will help you. They're going to ask you the questions to get to know what exactly you're trying to accomplish. And I like what you said, tell the truth. I mean, because either they're going to be able to help you and a person of integrity will tell you whether they can help you or not.
Right.
Or they're going to say, I can help you, or I can't help you, but maybe I can refer you to this person who I know and I trust and I believe has the skills or has the know-how to help you get to where you want to go.
Exactly. And that's why I love knowing all these brilliant ladies, because, somebody might come to me and I'll be like, well, that's not really my expert, but hey, I know Tanya. Hey, I know Angela. Let me
Hmm.
reach out to them, see if they can, maybe have a consultation, and then you guys go from there. Because still, I want to see you win, and I'm not just going to let you sit if I'm not your coach.
Right.
Some people know how to coach football, some people know how to coach basketball. There's coaches for different things, but
Exactly.
they're all good at what they do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And we stay in our lane and we do what we do. We do it well. If you're integrity, you're going to do stay in your lane and do what you do.
Yes, yes. That is so important. And so before we go, I'm going to run these two commercials. One, you're going to see Angela Durant, who is the founder of the Be Brilliant movement,
Hmm.
who got all us brilliant ladies together, and I'm so thankful. And then one of the brilliant ladies who was there, um, she does, her website is daisiesfood.com, and she makes empanadas. And man, when I tell you, I was like, what's an empanada? When I was in New York, I had her come and help serve me and some of my friends. Oh my gosh, those empanadas. She got vegan. Listen, I don't even like tofu that well. I can get with the vegan lifestyle on meals, but I'm not completely vegan. But I don't really like tofu. Let me tell you, she had mm, making my head itch. Those it was tofu and corn. Listen, we're gonna see the video in just a minute. But
Okay.
Tanya, stay with us, and you guys stay with us so you can make sure you learn, figure out where Tanya is, how you can follow her, how you can reach out with her if she has impacted you or made you put a leap in your spirit today. Like, oh yeah, she is speaking my language, like she said.
Yeah.
So stay with us, and we'll be right back with more of Tanya Brewington.
All right.
Get in with you. Hi. Hello. Hi, Conversations with Aly. Aly is here. She's in the house. She landed on Plymouth meeting. She rocked it out. She told her story. Yay! Be sure to share her videos. Bye. Thank you, Angela.
Just a brief second. Let me tell you,
Those,
that food was amazing.
it
That
looks good.
fries, oh,
Yeah, it looks good. Ooh, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for lunch now.
listen, and her son was so nice. This was during when I was having my back issues, and so he carried everything up the stairs because in New York you can't find anywhere to park. So
No.
Daisy had to stay downstairs, but her son was so generous. He was like, "I'll walk with you. It's okay." And I was like, "Thank you." But that food was so good, and by the time the one that he likes empanadas, and so he was like, "Ooh." By the time he got there, I was so full I couldn't even bring the camera back out. I was like, just enjoy. We have four full platters. We had that big pan of rice and salad, and might have been something else thrown in there. But I'm gonna tell you, at the end of the evening, it was five of us. We had like eight empanadas left. Yeah,
Wow.
and I stole three of them because we was leaving the next day to take on the train. Mhm, I did.
Hey, it worked, right?
And it was good the next day. I was sitting up there, and two travelers was like, "Well, I didn't think about that." I was like, "I don't know, but these are mine." So she is in the Jersey area. She does travel to some distance, but I just say get on the website and check her out. And if you are in those areas, ask her how far she'll go. I know we keep talking to her. She's working on figuring out how to ship and things like that.
Yeah.
She's coming up, y'all. I'm telling you. But if you're in that area and you can get some of those empanadas and try, don't be scared to try any of them because, like I said, I don't like tofu, but it was so good the way she did it. That's her gift.
Mhm. Mhm.
If I tell you I make empanadas, you might be like, I'm gonna bring some pizza with me when I come. I'm just saying, don't come expecting Daisy's empanadas. So, but see, we're all in our gift, and that's what I say.
Right. Right.
We got Tanya who's helping us to heal and forgive and to be able to live courageously. We have Daisy who's going to fill our bellies and make us feel good on the inside. Then when you get to the place where, and Angela brings everybody together to showcase their gifts. And there's so many other ladies I could talk about. But then, when you got yourself together and you're ready to tell the world about it, you come on Making Connection
All
TV
making
show.
connections.
See,
Yep.
it's a process. We all working together. So Tanya, this has definitely been this has been a courageous conversation,
Yes.
and so I definitely want you to tell people how they can follow you, how they can reach out if they want to work with you, and before we go, just a last word of encouragement or advice, whatever's laid on your heart.
Okay. You can find me at my website, courageouslyalive.com. It's there. You can go there and find it. You can join our Facebook group, join courageouslyalive.com, which will put you in our Facebook group. And you can also find me on Instagram at I am courageously alive, which is what you're seeing here. And we courageously alive. We offer monthly discussions. I
Yeah.
call them the courageous conversations of fireside chat, and we have different topics each month. And it's the first Saturday of each month at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And this month, well, October's session is about the places you'll go. And in it, we talk about the wins. We talk about how you go from where you've been in your life to where you are now, and what are you celebrating along the way? Because sometimes we don't give ourselves a chance to really celebrate our wins. Like I mentioned briefly, 20 years in business is a serious change. It's something to celebrate, and you don't always have people who are around you who can really appreciate what it is. And so during this the places you'll go, we'll talk about what you thought you were going to do when you were younger and where you are now, and how it may be a big jump, and how you need to celebrate that along the way. We also, in December, we're going to talk about leave a lasting gift, or I think that was the topic.
Mhm.
Aly, you're going to be the guest, my guest in December. December, I think it's December
Third, I think.
3rd. Okay, maybe that's, and it's 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And you can, once you're in our community, you'll get emails and notifications about that, all the things that we have. We have a retreat coming up. We have a workshop and a retreat. Nothing is impossible is the workshop. And in it, we talk about the mindset that helps you understand how nothing you want to do is impossible, but you have to have the mindset for it. And if you sign up for Nothing is Impossible workshop, you also are bonused in our Dream Your Big Dream retreat. So we have a 2-for-1 situation. That's just a bonus for people who are interested in doing that. So more information on the website. You can always be part of our community, and you will get all of those notifications. Now, as a final word, what I'll say is that you just have to understand that you have this one life to live, literally one life to live. And it's up to you to decide what you want to do with your life. Don't let anyone or anything else take away your ability to choose for yourself how you want to see your life live, and if how you want to see your life to show up. If you need help, if you need assistance in helping to navigate and bring this thing about, then this is where you get the help that you need from other people, other sources that can help you navigate this whole space through life. But it requires that you are courageous enough to make the decision to honor and to own your own life. Reclaim your power and own your own life. And that's something that all of us can do, no matter who we are.
Amen. No matter who you are, no matter where you are right now, listen, I tell people all the time, it's just like the natural world. Seasons change. There's going to be winter, spring, summer, fall, but if you hold on, it can't stay forever. It's
That's right.
got to it's got to shift. And so same thing can happen to you with your life, in your life. And then I love, just like Tanya's continue to say, how when you shift one area, it opens up other things. It gives the other things in your life the permission to shift as well.
Mhm.
And so be encouraged. Reach out to Tanya if you have enjoyed this conversation. Make sure you share this video because there's somebody in your circle who probably needs to hear this conversation as well.
Mhm.
So be kind and share so other people can hear this and be encouraged that they can live a courageous life. And so, we are making connections with Allie. We're here every Saturday at 12 noon and every Monday at 2 p.m., all Eastern Standard Time. Join our Facebook group and our page. Turn on like and turn on your notifications so you know when we go live. And reach out to these wonderful, brilliant ladies because they are making an amazing difference. And you know what? You can do the same thing. You can reach us at info@aliciajohnson.com. And then if you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can always go to calendly.com/, Making Connections TV. So thank you, Tanya. I have definitely enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait till the next fireside chat. And we know that Angela has another retreat coming up in January, so we'll
Larry.
start, talking about that. But she also has a week-long camp going on in October, so I'll get all that information and share it with you all. But we gotta go, unfortunately. Tanya, thank you, love you, appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And so everybody, part of the Making Connections family. Until next time, as always, we're leaving you with love, positivity, and good vibes. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye
See you,
bye.
Tanya.